Good morning, everybody. I am Varate from Force EPA, and today I'll be interviewing Selva Prakash sir. He is a revered photographer who has worked with huge names such as Forbes and the New York Times. He's been a teacher. He's now a photographer, and he's a mentor to a lot of students right now who are pursuing photography. And sir, I welcome you to this interview.
Thank you so much for doing this, and looking forward for some interesting discussion.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, firstly, I would like to ask, as I mentioned, as we know that you've achieved a lot in the field of media photography. I just wanted to ask, was this something you initially thought that you were going to do, like while growing up, while you were in school, college? Did it occur to you, or did you have it in your mind that you're going to focus in the field of media and not do anything else, or did it come later?
No, I think for photography, it's very accidental for me. I didn't plan that I want to be a photographer, but I was very bad at academics. So I was interested in more of fine arts. I was a part of the fine arts team. I do part of the freestyle western dance or something like that. So I think that exposure to those, meeting these creative people, and slowly my interest, I found that I have an interest on this creative area, or at least other way around. I'm not interested in the academic. So you have to choose something, and so that's how it happened. And then I did my undergraduation on economics because I was poor in my school again, and in down south, that's how, if your marks are very low, then you have to choose these economics, history, and things like that. And not just because of I'm passionate about the economics. And then after my undergraduation, I thought, okay, let's focus on something creative. Then the journalism and mass communication. I enrolled myself into the PG, and then I did that. So it's very accidental. That's why it's not very well planned thing.
So, as you mentioned right now that this was a very accidental thing, and you also mentioned that you were interested in fine arts, dance. So, considering this was something you thought of later, what other hobbies, interests did you have while growing up? Anything in particular?
Like with any other kids, hobby means like I play cricket those days, and then it's like a regular, not some unusual things. And even the dance is like more of a professional later point, because I ran a small informal dance school and I choreograph. So like even now sometimes I'm sure including Arvind and a couple of people ask, do you have another life apart from the photography, and you do some sort of a hobby, or you go out and do something. So I look at all that, when you get bored of something you are doing, then you need something else. And I enjoy this process, and sometimes physically it's very demanding, but I enjoy this process. So for me, this is a hobby, this is my profession, all that. Actually, I enjoy this process. So I don't have a line of this is hobby and this is whatever non-hobby thing. So I enjoy what I'm doing. So
basically, it's like what they say: if you have a job you love, you're always on vacation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is actually something which I wanted to ask too. That you mentioned about dance, you mentioned about teaching. Were there any other jobs which you thought that you would go before primarily focusing on photography and editing right now? Something which you thought, or something which you still think you can get into any other field as a professional field?
No, I think moving images, which is you can call it as a video or a cinematography. That's in one area, because any medium has its own limitations, right? So photography is a cold medium, and sometimes it won't really evokes the emotions, and it might need a little bit of an audio. So it has its limitations. So it depends. Sometimes these days when I especially work on my personal projects, I finding it maybe video will tell the story more efficiently on this specific project, or photo will do it very efficiently on this project. So I look at these tools, like especially like any whether it is a photography or it's a writing or it's a video. These are all the tools, and you have something to tell, and then you have to choose which tools works efficiently to tell your ideas to the, either if you want to reach the larger public, or sometimes you just express for yourself, and then you choose which medium rather than some sort of a very strict idea of you are a photographer, I am not going to do anything else, or I am a cinematographer, I am not going to do anything else. Rather than you choose the medium, whichever works well or whichever works efficiently, and you choose that medium and you express your ideas. Yeah, that's my way of looking at to your question. So obviously, video and a moving images is one of the area I want to. Now and then I shoot that, but not in a very cinematic way. I just need to be serve my purpose. So that's how I look at. Yeah.
So basically what we're talking about is we should not stop at one particular place. We should explore other areas concerning the particular field, because you talked about photography and you talked about exploring videography, cinematography, and not just being in one particular profession. So the thing is, what do you think if you try out something like this, if you move to professional images, if you try experimenting over there, would that turn out better? If it turns out better, or if you like it better than photography, do you think this would still continue in the background, or is this something you might leave behind?
No, it's not about liking or better. So I said, is it whether the medium is efficient or effective in this specific project? Then you choose the project, choose the medium accordingly. And if it works well, that's why I'm choosing the medium itself. Like I did the Life in Troubled Water project, which is photo project. And so the very first phase of that project is interviewing, talking to a lot of fishermen who goes and fish in the Sri Lankan water or like international water, and then there is a dispute in the border. And when you listen to those stories, it's very powerful, and sometimes it makes me to stop shooting because that's very, touching and very emotional stories. But when you look at those photos, that's not there. So I knew that this, photo is not really conveying that. Then after like a couple of visits, I start interviewing and recording the audio and sometimes video interviews. So it's like, it's not liking it or it's a better. So the subject decides what medium has to be more powerful to tell. And that's how I work out, rather than some sort of an emotional connect with the camera, like say I'm a photographer. That's why I just re-saying that. Don't identify with I am a photographer, I'm going to use only this. And some people says I never use flash in my life because I like to shoot only in a natural light, and some people I use only the strobes. But don't stick like that. That's my way of looking at. Don't stick to that. Like you look at the subject and you decide what it needs to tell that more efficiently. And to come back to your question, like it's when you like, why do you need a medium? Like say somebody writes and somebody sings, or somebody is a poet or a filmmaker, and why you wants to do that is you have something to say. That's the very fundamental thing, and many times we lose that and we choose these medium. Like say if you say like a 10 people are there, if somebody says cinematographer or someone says poet or someone says writer, and largely we choose these things because of the fame behind it, and or like someone says wildlife photographer and then everyone looks at you. And but you can't choose just because of the fame or something, because that's like say you might not interested in the subject matter actually. Like say, if someone wants to be a wildlife photographer, you are going to spend your like kind of 15 to 22 days alone in a forest. Are you really going to enjoy your aloneness? Are you a kind of a person who enjoys that first? And then are you reads enough about such subjects first of all? And or is that subject really interest to you, like say wildlife or something? And then you choose a medium, whether you are going to write or whether you are going to photograph or whether you are going to make a movie. That comes secondary. First thing is you have to choose what subjects or what you want to speak out, and then you choose which medium is more efficient on, then you pick up that. That's how I look at actually. Yeah.
So I'd like to deviate from the topic which deviate a bit from the topic which we were discussing right now. So and move into one which is equally important, I suppose. So we talked about media as a whole right now, but I would like to focus this one last question on the topic of journalism. So I want to ask you, what is your opinion on this matter? That do the journalists or maybe the one who writes, the one who clicks pictures, do the journalists in this country have the freedom which they actually should have, or is it being taken away? Because there have been a lot of arguments regarding this topic that right now they don't have the freedom. It's not about creative freedom anymore. It's just about independently being able to express their opinions regarding whatever is going on in the country. So, what do you think about it? Do they have the freedom, or are they controlled by someone or something?
I think there's two questions, but since it's the last question, we'll keep it shorter.
Okay.
Because one, you are saying individual expressing freedom, and then you are asking, is a journalist are free to allow in a media?
Both,
like,
yeah, exactly.
It
Individually,
has two different areas. Because in a media, it's always there is a term called watchdog, and or not watchdog, it's called gatekeeper. So what stories to go, what stories has to be killed, and it's been there. So largely or 100% all these medias are owned by an individual who have some sort of a vested interest, and they will say like what to go, what not to go, and all these full-time journalists were listening. Even I was part of multiple publications. We have a clear guidelines what to be shoot and what not to be shoot, and what story will go, and even a story which is filed and after there is a call from a marketing or an advertising section saying please don't publish that stories because he is a regular advertisers in our magazine or television. So it's been there for media industry, and also like kind of a content, the advertisement which goes on in your magazine, like say if Rado watch ad is going on your magazine, and what is going to be adjacent page image, and so that's why largely newspaper and the media is moving towards the lifestyle related news and things like that. So that's how the medium is changing, and if you feel like you have to express your voice, then you have a social media, and that I don't think there is an issue of publishing, or freedom comes with some responsibility. That's how I look at it. So you can 99% you can say what is right to you, and that can be expressed, or you can start your own blogs, or blog is dead almost, but like a Twitter like thing, and you can write something, and or even there is a more scope is now for a freelancer. You can write a piece of an article which you think your own point of view is right, and then you can pitch into your own point of magazine. Then you can run it. You can find like point of view is like largely a political perspective, and if you think your articles fit into this XYZ magazine because they are also leaning towards that ideology, you publish your content in that. But if you are trying to publish your ideology into an opposite ideology publication, definitely it's not going to be work. That's the thing. So, but I believe that you have a freedom to publish it in a social media, and so far I have no issue with that actually. Yeah.
So, sir, I guess that concludes the interview. Thank you so much for giving your time. Thank you so much for bearing with us and our questions. And it was nice meeting you, sir.
Same here. It's a pleasure talking to you, and yeah, hope I have given some meaningful answers.
Yes,
And
sir.
yeah, thanks again. Yeah,
Thank you very much, sir.
thank you. Super.